All right, I'm about to be underway here. Chris Allen, remember, he's undefeated on the day. Did not pick up a loss, double drew into top 8. Pretty competent pilot here of Omnitel.
Yeah, he was impressive when we had him on camera against the blue-white-red Delver matchup.
Despite the black mana t-shirt.
Setting
It's
his
a ruse, yeah.
Yeah, throwing his opponent off. Do you ever do any of that kind of stuff?
No, I go the other way.
Okay.
I would like put blue mana symbol sleeves on my High Tide deck.
Yeah, I have a red mana symbol box. I play in most events. At the PT, when I was playing Boros, I had the Boros sleeves. Just that kind of stuff's overrated.
Yeah,
Grand Prix
so
Charlotte played Boros at the seal deck, bought the Boros t-shirt.
I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of players where it's like, okay, you're playing against Wafo Tapa, right? Like, okay, this negate's going to be pretty good. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Like there's a lot of players where like, and does that stop him from winning a lot of rounds of Magic? No, not really. He's just pretty good at doing it. Turn 1, Chris Allen's going to brainstorm main phase. He's going to play around cards like Spell Pierce. Passes back to Hoey. Hoey does have the turn 1 Delver, so pressure is going to be on this game.
And I think that's a heads-up move by Chris. He needs to basically get all of his cantrips to resolve to be able to assemble combo pieces plus counter spells to plow through. So even though it seems innocuous to allow Matthew to counter your brainstorm there, better to let's have it resolve.
Now, Hoey does have Daze in hand. So if you look at his hand here, he has a Wasteland. That's not going to be much help. But he has Daze, Brainstorm, a lot of the tools he would need here. He doesn't have too many counter spells yet, but he has like Fetch Land. He has Fetch Land and Brainstorm, so he'll be able to spend these turns while Chris sculpts his hand. Hoey will be able to sculpt his own. Chris Allen plays a land to play around Daze, then plays a Ponder. He's going to play this Ponder into a Daze. I imagine Hoey will let it resolve also.
Yep. Not willing to fight that fight just yet.
This isn't the spell you want to fight over. He wants all hands on deck when it comes time for the counter war.
I think it's more correct to be using your dazes like that against a deck like Sneak and Show, where they do have the ability to overpower your dazes with all the extra mana. But Omnitel plays pretty fair as far as that stuff is concerned.
Yeah. Also, Sneak and Show, their hands can be a lot more unstable. You know, they have, for example, like 8 Gristlebrand and Emrakul cards. Like sometimes their hand has a bunch of real duds in it, so their hands oftentimes really need that Ponder to resolve, whereas Omnitel is a lot smoother of a deck to play with.
Well, Omnitel still has 4 Omniscience, 4 Enter the Infinite, and arguably 3 Dream Halls, so there is some clunkiness there, but it does play the 12th, you know, it does play Preordained alongside Ponder and Brainstorm.
Yeah.
I think that's the major source of stabilization.
I guess I better put it, yeah, it has 12 cantrips, it has a stronger mana base. Yeah, I think it doesn't rely as hard on an individual cantrip to help it out. We see Hoey with that Brainstorm here, going to find another copy of Daze. And crack away a Flooded Strand.
So very good opening here for Hoey.
Yeah, he has the turn 1 he has the Flip Delver on turn 1. And he does have some soft permission, so that much seems to be going his way. We'll see whether or not he can keep it going. And another Delver will join the fray. And this is something you may not have been able to do. No, with Double Daze, you probably still could do this against us, Sneak and Show. But he taps out for another Delver this turn. Wants to increase his clock further still.
It would at least be a riskier play.
Yeah.
But you know, Chris is way less likely to just explode with a bunch of mana out of nowhere than a Sneak and Show deck.
Yeah, Chris brainstorms here, and as you look at his hand, he does have Force of Will and 2 Pact of Negations, so he is ready for a big fight. The question is whether or not he actually has the combo. He's putting an Omniscience back on top of his deck. I think he has another Omniscience in hand, so that's a bonus copy of it. Third land here, that's going to be a fetch land. He's not going to play around Stifle this time. But my guess is, if he can get a 4th land and a Show and Tell, he may be able to fight over all this counter magic.
It looks like he's built up quite the hand.
Yeah, 2, but this time, I mean, the Delver's flip off Lightning Bolt. He's going to have to do this soon. Chris Allen goes down to 10. He's in danger of dying next turn to double Lightning Bolt. Or just this Nimble Mongoose and a Bolt. Hoey is putting him on a turn 4 kill just with the aggro aspects of his deck.
Yep. And this is the ruthlessness that Rogue Delver brings to the table that is kind of absent from other builds of Delver.
I mean, this really speaks to me of Legacy, that you're a deck that can, like, so in Modern, Affinity is pretty cool because it's a pretty, like, it's an aggro deck that turn 4 kills most every game. And see, Legacy, the Rug Delver is currently executing a turn 4 kill, except they also have a ton of counter spells while doing it, which is something like Affinity could only dream of having.
Yeah. It's a souped up format, to put it mildly.
Another island here for Chris Allen. If he does have the ability to go for it, I think he's going to. He pretty much has to.
Definitely can't wait.
Cards like Cunning Wish, I believe, are in his hand. That's not going to do much. We see Pact, Force of Will, Omniscience. I think that's his hand. So Cunning Wish, looking over at Chris Allen's sideboard, I mean, it looks like... So he's going to have to Force of Will pitching a blue card to stop this Lightning Bolt. And oh, he just drew another Lightning Bolt. Good God.
That's that then.
This hand is way over the top. It has bonus points of damage. And yeah, gonna go Lightning Bolt to Chris. Chris is gonna have to force it.
For me, by the way, this is happiness when my Legacy opponent has to Force a Will my Lightning Bolt.
Yeah,
that's
that means
as good as life gets for me.
I mean, this is just ridiculous. Yeah, this is okay. And game 1 goes to Matthew Hoey off a draw most aggro decks would envy.
That is what we call the draw right there. I mean, it didn't have a Force of Will in it, but you couldn't ask for much more than that.
Well, it's a zoo deck, right? It's Wild Nicattles and Lightning Bolts.
It's pretty close.
I mean, it just was Wild Nicattles and Lightning Bolts, except the Nicattles had flying, and then he had all these dazes he didn't have to
Yeah,
use.
and he got to play him alongside Brainstorm and Ponder instead of Kurt Ape and Loam Lion. So
Right.
there's some similarities, some differences, but
Well, Loam Lion, I think all his guys were 3s, you know?
yeah,
Why would Loam Lion's not good enough for this blue aggro deck.
correct.
All right. While they sideboard here, we're going to bring you back into the booth. Once again, Matthias Hunt and Patrick Sullivan, we are giving away more months of Star City Games Premium. It is the top 4, which means we have 6 months of SCG Premium. To correctly win them, you have to answer this question and have that hashtag you see on the bottom of the screen, SCG Premium. We'll pick one of those at the end of the round. Question for us.
So we've been talking a lot about Grand Prix Orlando. That's the Grand Prix that Star City Games is going to be running in October. Later this year, Star City Games will be running a Legacy Grand Prix. Can you name the location of that Grand Prix?
All right, that's a pretty good one. I believe we'll be at that one. I'll be at that one as well.
I'll be at that one.
All right, we'll be covering
with
that.
where we're going, there's no way
you'd miss it.
No way they keep me on the sidelines. Not a chance.
All right, fair enough. So if you believe you know the answer to this, tweet it at SCG Premium with that hashtag. If you don't know the answer to this, well, you can look it up on our website. We have it listed on our events page. But that will bring you back into the round. This is between Omnitel and Rug Delver. Let's go look at the sideboard matchup.
So on the Omnicell side, again, this is a Cunning Wish deck, so a lot of sideboard slots are already accounted for as far as that goes. As far as cards to literally bring into the deck, there's 3 Spell Pierces, 3 Leyline of Sanctity, and 3 Defense Grid. This feels like a Defense Grid matchup to me. Hoey's only form of interaction, honestly, is counter spells, and Defense Grid's an excellent tool against that.
Well, to be fair, he has a form of interaction of flipped Delvers and a barrage of Lightning Bolts, but that's not usual for him.
Right, that's a fast kill, but Chris's kills are going to be faster, uncontested. So the counter spells are really important for Hoey, and to that end, I think you're going to see Defense Grids come in.
Yeah, and I would agree. It's probably just a Defense Grid matchup. It's not really a Spell Pierce matchup. Like I said, Spell Pierce is for combo decks. Defense is for control. Leyline is for discard.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. All those things are wishboard targets.
And on Hoey's side here, 2 Rough Tumble, 3 Submerge, 3 Power Blast, 2 Flusterstorm, an Ancient Grudge, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, and a Cursed Totem. 2 Flusterstorms and 3
Great.
Pyroblast. That is
Great.
easy.
Yep.
Huge upgrades here. Beyond that, I don't know if he's going to want to go so far as to bring in the Ancient Grudge to fight over the Defense Grids. That feels a little too narrow to me. But if he has other cards in his deck he doesn't like particularly, he can do that, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not actually completely opposed to bringing in that Defense Grid when you put it that way. There are some cards like, I'm not a huge fan of Stifle in this matchup.
Yeah, it's really only the fetch lands that we're looking at here. The 1 Fort Bolt, that's easy to cut. And so those are 5. That gives you the 2 Flusterstorms and the 3 Pyroblasts. Beyond that, is there a card in here that's worse than an Ancient Grudge?
That's a good question. I mean,
I feel like the answer is no.
Yeah, like a creature, like a Nimble Mongoose, maybe, perhaps, if you really want the Ancient Grudge. And I know it's dangerous to cut any creatures in this deck.
Yeah, there's only 12 to begin with, and it's incumbent on Hoey to have something early to get some pressure going.
I might cut a Lightning Bolt, actually. I think an Ancient Grudge may be better than a Lightning Bolt. So I'm fine having Lightning Bolts. It's just Lava Spike, but that's okay.
I think that I would rather cut. I know this is sacrilegious for me to say, but I think I'd rather cut Gataxian Probe than the Lightning. I think the bolts are actually good in this matchup. They represent a full turn a lot of the time.
They can. It depends. Just the Gataxian Probe, the information it gives is pretty non-trivial. The problem is Gataxian Probe is actually a completely free card. Like paying 2 life, since it's actually not a thing in this matchup, it's really hard for me to say that you'd want to cut Gataxian Probe.
Oh, I've lectured people for the better part of the year on this one, but I think that I feel that just like everything else in the deck is better than that, and I think that Lightning Bolt on average is going to be better than Ancient Grudge.
Okay. I mean, I can buy Lightning Bolt Ancient Grudge version. I don't know. I need to hear this lecture at some point, though.
The Gataxian Probe's busted and people that don't play it in their legacy decks.
No, I'm saying that if you're in a matchup where your opponent actually doesn't even write your life total on their score pad, the Gataxian Probe's pretty busted.
Yeah, maybe you're just supposed to never cut it. That makes sense to me. I would just keep in the 4 bolts and call it a day.
Like, say you're playing against blue-white control and standard. Like, I would just play all the Gataxian Probes I could against them because they can't kill you.
Yeah. There is a point at which it damages your mulligan information a bit, but that's certainly not 2 copies.
Right. Yeah, it's like 10, 8, you know. There's a reason we don't just run Manamorphose in every deck and Street Wraith. Like, you don't just, no one's just like, okay, I'll Street Wraith down to 56 cards all the time. Like, that's actually a cost.
Well, there's the other cost with Street Wraith, too, is you always have to pay the 2 life. With Gataxian Probe, you have the out of simply casting it.
Right.
For the just outrageous cost of a mana.
Gataxian Probe's a really good card.
It is quite potent.
It's weird. It's almost like all those cards that cost 1 Phyrexian mana, it's almost like the entire cycle are really good.
So, well, there's multiple single blue ones because there is Gataxian Probe and Mental Misstep.
Oh, well, that other one's okay, right?
Both of those turned out really well. Mutagenic Growth is a powerful, it's a reasonable tournament level card. It has shown up from time to time.
Gut Shot.
Again, reasonable tournament level card.
Reasonable card. Surgical Extraction.
Totally powerful.
Marrow Shards.
A little underpowered.
Okay, that one just doesn't, I mean, they actually have to do something. If your card doesn't do anything, I don't care how much it costs.
I actually think Gut Shot is one of the more underplayed cards in Legacy. For combo decks that really struggle to beat Thalia, it seems like an underutilized card.
I mean, it costs the right amount of mana to make me want to play it in Legacy.
Because with Slaughter Pact, you kind of have to do it and then go that turn.
Yeah.
And all the other options cost a significant amount of mana. So if you're worried about beating Thalia specifically, it's also, Gut Shot's also good against elves, just kind of randomly. So I think that's a card that could stand to see a little more Legacy play.
Like I said, yeah, I mean, any card that costs 0, like, you have my attention. And that doesn't mean I'm going to play it, but, like, you can't just, we have to have a conversation, right?
Right, exactly.
Is that the whole set? Was there not a black common one?
I'm sure there was. Probably killed a creature
really
or made your opponent discard a card or something.
Yeah, maybe it was just Surgical Extraction. I can't come up with another one, but it would have been really bad. All right. Chris Allen on the play. He is on a 6-card hand, starts off with Ponder. You see his hand, he does have Ancient Tomb and City of Traders. So can bruise a lot of mana. If he just can natural into the combo, he could play through Soft Permission, but he's going to shuffle those away.
Well, I think Chris has gone all the way down to 5 cards, and what that means is he needs to play more of a sneak and show game. I mean, he's going to have to, I feel like he's going to have a 2-mana land and kind of show and tell to win this one.
Yeah. The problem is, like, he needs a show and tell. He needs more, because it's a 3-card combo. This is harder for his deck. Well, he's drawn Emrakul. Okay. And
maybe down to 2-card combo territory.
He has an Ancient Tomb, I believe, a pair of Dream Halls, and an Emrakul. Yeah, that's... Well, if he draws Show and Tell and Hoey doesn't have any blue cards, then he wins. That's a really big... well, he draws Force of Will off that probe. I don't think that's going to work.
He now has a blue card.
Now has a blue card, and so it's a relevant one here, too. Force... He has Force and Daze, and Goyf, and Lightning Bolt, and some lands. The hard part is that, well, I guess Chris can draw out of this. He's going to need a Brainstorm. He's going to need a Brainstorm that brainstorms him into a fetch land to give himself a shot.
But yeah, his hand's a mess right now. It's not one of those hands where you can really solve it by Preordained or Ponder. It's got to be Brainstorm, putting some of that stuff back, essentially drawing a new hand.
Only Brainstorm will save this hand. That's why it's the best one of the cantrips. And Hoey knows he has some time. He's going to start out on Ponder. We see another Ponder, a Polluted Delta, and another Ponder. I like pondering into Ponder. I'm fine with that. I'd draw some Ponders.
And Hoey needed a second land anyway,
Okay, so draw
which
the
is
delta.
why I think that's why he was loath to lead off with his Nimble Mongoose there too, because he wants to find the second land and then everything becomes very easy.
All right, Hoey's still playing with perfect information as Chris Allen draws Misty Rainforest for the turn. Well, so he needed to draw Misty so that when he draws his Brainstorm next turn, he has a fetch to crack.
Yeah.
So far, he is still on target. Granted, if he Brainstorms and you're Hoey, do you daze the Brainstorm?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, right?
Leave him with those Dream Halls in that Emrakul.
Sounds real good. I mean, Ancient Tomb. Well, okay, he can start just jamming Dream Halls as early as next turn. It'll cost him 4 life every time he wants to try, which is ridiculously dangerous against this deck. But, okay, we have a shot. We can just jam Dream Halls, and then if the next turn we draw Enter the Infinite, we win.
It looks as though Hoey has brought in the Grudge.
Right, Timer Waves to 2/3. He does have a Force of Will and a Daze. So the Force of Will will get the first Dream Halls, but the Daze is no good here. Chris Allen's going to have 6 lands. And Tarmogoyf goes, Hoey's going to go real aggressive here. He bolts Chris to the face, pumping the Tarmogoyf and plays Nimble Mongoose, passes back. Can he do it? Chris Allen with another land, that's not going to help him. He has 5 mana. He's not going to go for Dream Halls yet. I think he wants to play around Spell Pierce. I felt like he had to jam a Dream Halls.
Maybe. I don't know how far that gets him here with how much damage he's taking here.
Well, I mean, what's the other plan? So like my plan is to jam Dream Halls, hope it resolves, and then hope I just top deck and Enter the Infinite, and I can pitch a blue card to it. This is not a good line, but this is a line.
Sure.
Right?
I guess the alternative is hope you draw Brainstorm and then use the Misty to generate value and try to set some other lineup. But
yeah,
that's a long ball shot.
Yeah, I don't know if you can have time to even set anything up. Like you're dying. Hoey with only 6 cards in graveyard, fortunately here for Chris Allen, just takes 4.
Yeah, Hoey instead just leaving up Pyroblast and Spell Pierce alongside his Force of Will.
He had a choice. He could have made it a 2-turn clock. Well, it's actually still a 2-turn clock. Next turn he bolts Chris Allen. He goes on to 6. Nimble Mongoose becomes a 3/3. Goyf is a 3/4. It's lethal. Right. So it's like Chris has to. With this Force of Will in Hoey's hand, I don't think Chris Allen has a play.
Yeah, Force of Will plus Pyroblast. There's no way Chris is getting through this.
Draws Preordain. It's not going to do it. Yeah, I don't think he's going to fight through all these hard counters. He'll start with Preordain. Hoey will probably let that one through. You can wait. Remember, every card in Chris's deck is blue, so you can just wait. You can let him burn his cantrips. He's gonna die next turn, so yeah, he'll go ahead and Pyroblast it. I mean, these plays all seem fine. Goose now a 3/3, thanks to that 7th spell in the graveyard, and this should be lethal. He's gonna swing for 6. Chris goes down to 3, and Lightning Bolt should seal the deal. And Hoey's on his way to the finals, defeating Chris Allen once again in 2 easy games. He is 4-0 right now in our top 8, and he has not shown any signs of weakness.
Good old ruthless Rug Delver, still doing his thing.
Put up only, he has bashed 2 people really in quick games.
It's interesting, we've had, last year I feel like Bug Delver really started to get on the scene.